Well, happy Monday morning, Sonder family. Yes, I wanted you to answer the poll here too. That's our poll today in Sonder Club, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to put that on the screen for a little something to do. Welcome, welcome. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I get to be your facilitator this morning as we set up for a brand new week. Lots of you are looking forward to the week. You're talking about this lovely weather. You're seeing some sunshine. This is kind of that time of the year that is pretty magical because summer's coming, right? And so it's like, okay, we have cool mornings. Everything's green. I really enjoy the month of May. I want to introduce you to my co-facilitator this morning. You have Team Jennifer on the call today. So Jennifer's going to be hanging out in that chat. She's popping on to give you a wave. If you have any questions this morning along the way, Jennifer will do her best to answer them, point you in the right direction. And yes, Jennifer's more productive when she has a deadline. Me too. Yes, I work really well under pressure and the I always talk about the timers, like I said, a timer to get things done. So I'm really glad that you have made time this morning to go ahead and set up for a new week. And I know this is kind of a crazy time of year for some because it's like wrapping up that school year and kids and just things are going to change for many of you once school is out. So anyway, really, really glad to welcome you. Make sure your chat is set to everyone. I'm not sure if we have any first-time socialers joining us, but if we do, just drop a me in the chat so we can make sure that we are giving you a big welcome. Happy birthday, Catherine. She says it's birthday week. I have a little birthday bingo to show you this morning for birthday week. Maybe you can put that in there. Missy is here for the first time, and Lisa. And I'll just mention again, if you see your name to host and panelist, then just Jen and myself are seeing what you're sharing in the chat. So make sure that chat says to everyone so we can share. We do a lot of sharing here. So let's dig into our time together this morning. We do like to start by reminding you of our community guidelines. These are also found in Sonder Club in that app. But it's all about being kind and courteous to yourself and others and making sure that you're taking good care of yourself whenever you are doing these dives into your journal. Our customer care inquiries, we will point you to hello@silkandsonder.com for things that we're unable to help you with. That is the headquarters email address, and they will probably be able to help you a lot better than Jen and me. We're limited on our knowledge of and what we have access to. Oh no, Elena's sharing her May journal got soaked yesterday, but onward. Yes, onward. My June journal is coming, and I always just get so excited. Yes, and Elaine, do that. Email that hello@silkandsonder.com, and they will probably be able to give you a quick replacement if they didn't run out of May. Just so you can finish strong if that's something you need to do. Maybe you're drying it out and those wet pages are going to remind you of your story for the month. Um, as you know, we're digging into trust this month, and it's a big, to me, a big theme because trust is drives so many different sections of our life. You know, how we approach people and our work and how we look at ourselves. It's one of those heady themes. And so we have been digging in. Now, for those of you who are here for the first time, one of the nice things about our weekly gatherings is that we work on what's called a mind map, where we have a bonus prompt each week around focused around that theme through different lenses. So it really does help us dig in. And so we'll be working on week 3 this morning. I'll show you uh the mind map. So if you want to go back and pick up week 1 and 2, you can do that. No pressure on yourself. Again, Trust is a heavy subject. So we will start off our morning together by doing our trust mind map. We're going to do our rosebud thorn reflection, which we do every week to kind of have a look back over the previous week and kind of figure out what went great and what we want to bring forward and what we want to leave behind. And then we'll do our weekly setup pages. So, as I mentioned, trust has some complexities around it. I was visiting with Jennifer, and I were we meet before we actually come live to you all. And we were talking about, trust is so hardwired into who we are as young people, right? So, it really, it really gets set, I think, as we are in our young formative years. And that's how we learn to move forward into life. And so it's such an origin topic, right? And so it can get really deep. And I've laughed as I've started to dig into trust. I dig in with a spoon, but I realize I need a shovel because it is so complex. So we have looked at trust through a couple of different lenses so far. The first week was, what does trust look like when you put it through the frame of forgiveness? Um, how do you forgive? Are there people who need to be forgiven? How does trust play into that? Last week, we looked at strength, how it makes us strong. And then this week, we are looking at trust for vulnerability. And I will tell you, I wasn't even sure which way to go with that one. And then I started remembering about the work that Brene Brown from the University of Houston talks about: trust, vulnerability, being brave, being authentic and true to yourself. And so I really started digging in to some of her work. I thought it paired nicely with our theme. So, also, last week we had an exclusive social on thinking traps. And when I started looking at being vulnerable for myself with this idea of trust, I really embraced that idea of the thinking traps. What are the things that I tell myself? What are those things I need to work on? And so Jennifer is going to drop the Silk and Sonder Thinking Traps link into the chat. Now, don't do this right now because you need to have quiet, focused time if you haven't done the Thinking Traps assessment. My thinking trap is I am one of those people who is a should'er, right? And I need to stop shoulding myself. I should do this. I should be this. They should, da da da. A lot of judgment. And that is my thinking trap toward, where it just makes me not be my best self. So I'm going to suggest that you give yourself some time to take that, because I think if you can identify what your thinking trap is, it helps you look at how to be vulnerable in a very healthy way, right? You're going to address that thinking trap that is kind of consuming, how you approach things. And if you can quiet that thinking trap down a little bit, I think it opens up your heart to be vulnerable. Now, that's this is a lot. But I do want to show you a couple of things, and then we'll take just a few moments to kind of start digging in. I think this is a pretty heavy thing. You might need to sit later to dig into it. But Brene Brown says we need to trust to be vulnerable. We need to trust to be vulnerable. And we need to be vulnerable to trust. So it's very intermingled. It's not like one and another. They're separate. And when we identify, like, what are those thinking traps that stand in the way, I know because I'm a should'er. Armoring up and protecting our egos rarely leads to productive, kind, and respectful conversations. All of these are Brene's quotes that I'm sharing this morning. And so I need to learn to let that armor down a little bit. So Brene Brown has done this work with the 7 elements of trust, braving. There is a book called Braving the Wilderness where she really explores this in depth. But I think it, again, it does lead to that vulnerability. And she talks about, you need to set boundaries and make clear what's okay and what's not okay in your life, but also respectfully approaching other people with their boundaries. Reliability means you do what you say you're going to do, and again, it has to do with the people you're interacting with, the people that you allow in your life, and then also yourself. How are you reliable to others? Accountability, that's owning the mistakes, owning when you mess up. The vault, that's so important to me is, if I've shared something, it stays in that vault. It's not for you to share. And then people should expect that of me. If they have come to me, I hold in confidence, what they have shared so they can trust me. Integrity is always about choosing courage over comfort. Don't go the easy way out. Um, Choose what's right over what's fast and easy. Non-judgment. Come to people. I can ask for what I need, and you can ask for what you need. And we take that should away. We take that judgment away. And then finally, generosity. And that's just, be generous with how you interpret things, how you accept what people are saying. Do it with a generous heart, not with a judgmental heart. And that creates vulnerability. So she says if you are employing these 7 elements of trust, you are embracing a commitment to lean into vulnerability, to stay curious and generous, to stick with the messy middle of a problem identification and the problem solving. Like you're not going to walk away. We're here together. It means you are committed to taking a break and circling back, giving yourself that space and being fearless in owning your part of a situation. So I know I just that this is just kind of a really tough thing to tackle in just that small amount of time we have together. But for me, I approached it like there's my page for that's how I set up my mind map this month. And you can do this anywhere. You can do it on a notes page, maybe the quote page, maybe you do it on a scratch pad. But for me, trust for vulnerability, then when I look at my thinking traps, I have to lighten up. Don't put so much pressure on myself. Don't put up walls. It is okay for me to not be okay. I don't have to walk around all stoic for the people that I trust in my life. Let that wall down. Of course, stop shooting myself. Ask for help because people cannot read my mind. And then it's okay to pause, to take that step back and analyze the why. And there's actually a therapy exercise about analyzing the why you feel a certain way. And you ask yourself, why do I feel this way? And you answer it. And then you say, well, why? Why is that the answer? And you answer that. And you do that 5 times, and it helps you break it down to get to that core. Okay. So, Renee says vulnerability is not about oversharing. And I think this part is so important. It is sharing with the people who have earned, that's so big, earned the right to hear our stories and our experiences. So, I'm going to leave you with this for a couple of minutes to sort of start digging in. And again, you may just jot down some things and go do a deeper dig later, maybe after you do that thinking traps assessment and look at what is keeping you from being a genuine, authentic self. What is that thinking trap that is telling you lies? And then I'll be back to check with you. And I know you guys have dropped some things in the chat. So, as things are coming up, feel free to share because that's how we can support one another. And I'll be back to check with you in just a moment. righty. So again, this is some heavy work, and this might be one of those things that just kind of bounces around for a couple of days as you start digging in and thinking about it. And I worked with Malika last night, and she and I were talking about the trust letter in our journal. And she said, "Have you written your trust letter yet?" And she had shared that she wrote, it's about when your trust was broken, and she wrote about it, and she said, I wrote it, and then all of a sudden I just felt this big weight lift, and I realized that I am finished with the relationship that I wrote to. There was so much power in putting it down on paper. So I have not written my trust letter. I'm going to probably write that trust letter to my mom. And it's not going to be an easy exercise, but I think when we look at being vulnerable, it is going to make that letter writing just a healthy exercise for me. So I hope by embracing some of the work of Brene Brown, that has at least kind of set you on that track for vulnerability, that lens that we're looking at through trust. That was this is a big week, or a big week to work on the theme. So thank you for hanging in and taking care of looking into your soul and figuring that out. So let's change course a little bit, take a deep breath. And let's go take a look at what last week brought our way through our rosebud thorn reflection. The rose is always going to be that thing that brought you joy, a success, a win, something that it's just really positive. What's going well in your life. And buds are pretty good things too, because it's what we're looking forward to, maybe that thing that's giving you motivation. And then of course, life is balanced. And so we do have thorns, we have inconveniences, we have those things that are not very happy to deal with. Sometimes they're ongoing, they're hanging out, those health, or being a caregiver, those are tough thorns. And so they may not be able to go away. For me, I'll start with my rose was my daughter. I got to keep my dog, my grand dog, my daughter's dog. I love just having her. I don't have a pet right now, and so I get to keep her, and she's a little special needs. And so my daughter went out of town. She drove up here, gave me the dog, and then she flew out of town for work. And then she came back and finished out her work week here. So I got to hang with her for a bit, and that was just awesome. And then the bonus dog. My bud is I have book club tomorrow night. I'm reading a book called West with Giraffes. So far, it's wonderful, but I am on page 15 and I have 347 pages to tackle. So my bud is this opportunity for me to do a whole heck of a lot of reading this week. And then the thorn is my daughter woke up Friday not feeling well. She ended up at urgent care. She has pneumonia, diagnosed with x-rays. And I will tell you, my thorn, I shared it last night, was that I was worried that maybe I was feeling a little funny. Was it psychosomatic? And then last night I tanked. And so think I too am going to be dealing with pneumonia. I have an appointment online 15 minutes after we're done together. Right now, the Tylenol's pumping in my veins, so I'm doing okay. So, illness is not fun. So I want to know, what are your roses and your buds and your thorns? And please drop those in the chat. We want to celebrate those great things with you, but we also, as a community, want to remind you that it's a space for you to share the things that are bringing you, those thorns that just make life not so great right now. Let us share and help carry that burden. Again, we've got this community that allows us to be vulnerable. I'll be back to check with you in just a moment. Your roses are bringing a smile to all of us, and I love this part of our socials every week. This is our accountability group, right? We're waiting for each other. We're making sure we're using our journals, right, to really be the best version of ourselves. And, with thinking about vulnerability this week and what that looks like with trust, what a great thing that we can gather together in this community, this safe place, and kind of get our toes wet into that idea of sharing and of being authentic and being able to just share what's in our heart and being accepted and not, I mean, it's such a great place to practice that vulnerability, to practice letting our walls down. I think we are just, it's a great community to do that. And that happens through this exercise of roses and buds and thorns. And I just want to thank you for being vulnerable and sharing in the chat those things that are, especially those thorns that are really difficult for you. Um, just being able to kind of put it down is so good. Just put it on paper, share with us. We're with you. You've got that support. Then you can maybe move forward with a little bit less, it kind of lightens your load to know that you're with others. Let's take a look at our weekly planner, shall we? We are going to be working on pages 46 and 47 today. And I always share, I use my black pen. I'm not a huge sticker gal, but I have tried the new Silk and Sonder stickers and for a few things, and they're pretty fun. These pages are set up, a lot of color. This journal is about doing what works for you. So if a little art therapy during your weekly setups helps soothe your soul, please do that. Embrace it. Add some color, add some doodles. This is about what works for you. Again, I just tend to use my black pen. But even just tracing those boxes with a little color, a little pop can maybe make you have a little bit of joy, but there's not a right way and there's not a wrong way. There's your way. And so I like to share these just to let you know that no matter what you're doing in your journal, it's about what's working in your life. So we always like to start with how do we want to feel? That's the first thing that we look at every week. And we think about that in terms of what's going on. What kind of week do we have? I know we've got some birthday people here, or there's people who have birthday people in their lives. Think about what your week's going to look like and then embrace how you want to feel. You can do one word or several words or a quote, a mantra, an affirmation. Maybe there's a sticker that's got just the right word. Maybe you can print out a little picture. Um, Last week, I shared the quote, I will not trust my fears. They do not know my strength. And someone actually used that for how they're going to feel for the week. I would love you to drop in the chat, just like Alice just did. How do you want to feel this week? Let's kind of hold ourselves accountable by dropping that in the chat. Alice says she does want to feel productive, pleasant, and proud. Elizabeth, I want to feel healthy as well. So you and I are sharing that this week. Motivated and productive and generous. I always love the word generous. It really embraces that whole gratitude mindset. I'm seeing a lot of productive, creative, yes, centered. And Julia just brought, the word centered has been her word for many, many weeks. Thank you for saying that, Julia. You don't have to change this up every week. If there's a word that is just really speaking to you, maybe it's your word of the year, just goes here. And by writing it down, you're looking at it, you're getting that weekly reminder. You don't have to change it up from week to week. So now that we have kind of fallen into chosen the word of the week, think about your goals and your to-dos that are coming up. And we have these two spaces on our journaling. Now, you are invited to use your pages exactly as they are printed and do 3 goals and list your to-dos, but you can also repurpose these spaces. There's no one who's going to come and, as Maya says, no one's going to grade your journal. This is about doing what works for you. And yes, Julia, you're going to feel centered. We all work toward those things, right? She says, one day you will. A reminder that your goals are kind of your whys. Those are sort of big picture things. And then the to-do list is kind of the hows. Your to-do list never ends, right? You might mark something off, but then something else goes back on. But your goals, they may end, and then you set new goals, right? You achieve those goals. And so we're going to take a look at these two spaces, the goals and the to-dos, and just how folks have utilized this in their journal. I always remind you, go back and look at your intentions page. What did you intend for the month of May? And do you need to take those intentions to set your goals for the week? When I first got my journal, I would make these intentions and then I wouldn't flip back to that page. And so I wasn't holding myself accountable. You can also look at that habit tracker. Are there habits on there that are kind of blank? Do you need to reset those? Do you need to add these into your weekly goals? Of course, that lens of trust this month, specifically this week's vulnerability. Is there something you want to work on through that lens? And then, we're kind of starting to wrap up May, right? It's good. Those June journals are hitting our mailboxes. So, are there some things from the previous couple of weeks that you want to move forward so you can make sure you get them done? But you can also repurpose this space, and there's a whole list of that kind of thing. And just a reminder, always feel free to grab a screenshot by taking a photo with your camera, or do your screen saver and save those things if you want to go back and look at that. And this social, as well as all the other ones, are recorded, so you will have access to go back if there's something you see and like, oh, I missed that and I want to go take another look at that. You'll be able to access the recording. I like the idea of no goals. So they're goals, but they're set through the lens of saying no to things, of eliminating, of taking away things that are no longer serving you, like shoulding myself. And so, that might be how you approach your goals this week. You could frame your goals around a personal challenge. Maybe it's those of you who have birthdays. What about a celebration week? And your 3 goals have to do with celebrating different things, or a gratitude goal for the week. And you have, all the things that you do, you're really going to hone in on that theme. And then a lot of you I know, and I've done this many times, is I just get 3 categories and I plug in a goal for each one of the categories. A lot of times I'll do something fun, something fruitful, and then frog. And frog is that idea of eating the frog, eating the toad, getting that one thing done that I don't really want to do. Elizabeth, oh, she's got three goals. Survive, survive, survive. Listen, if that's what you need, take it. A good reminder of that. So you might want to just grab you a category thing and plug something in there. Here's how folks have set this up. Now you'll see there's 4 goals over there on the right. But also you might only have one main goal. I mean, like Elizabeth's goal, survive. That might just be her one goal this week. And then she's going to put into place the things that will happen to make survival a real thing in her life. You can also take your to-dos and pull directly from those goals. So here's some examples of how folks have set this up in their journal so that their to-dos support those goals directly. So yeah, Elizabeth says, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but somebody asked if she was an educator. It's just that May, right? We say Maycember. It's just the toughest. Oh, it's such a tough thing. I shared this last week. I love the one on the right. One thing I must do. 2 things I want to do, and then 3 things is kind of a reflection piece. And it's 3 things I'm proud of. And I love that idea of how we're doing those reflections. Here's how you set up your to-do list to kind of be it's a little more productive. You do a need, a want, and a hope to do. again, we set ourselves up for success. So don't make these to-do lists too big or we're not gonna function. We love the Eisenhower matrix. This is that prioritization of the most important and urgent things down to the things that can be delayed, dropped, the things that need to be decreased in our life. And so I always like to include that. And we talk about the delete. If you're a single person household, sometimes you can't delete anything. Everything is coming your way. And so you might change that box to what am I going to delay? And you can, or decrease, and you can change that word to better meet your life and situation. And then again, going back to what doesn't serve you, perhaps your to-do list this week is a not to do list. And there, of course, is a graphic from our Silk and Sonder Instagram page, as well as a couple of examples from Sonder Club. And I love the idea of doing this, don't do that, right? So the duality is always very powerful. Perhaps this week's to-do list needs to be a to think list, kind of a brainstorm list rather than a list to be checked off. And then, of course, our ta-da, we've got Team Ta-da who might leave this space blank and go back and put in the things that you get done that are extra. My to-do list, I share this every week. It goes in my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I just do my daily to-dos. And then all the extra things I want to give myself credit for, I drop in the ta-da box. I guess I need that feedback, especially now that I don't have the feedback from a 9 to 5 job. So let's start working on our goals and our to-dos for the week. Please feel free to share in the chat how you use this space. Do you repurpose? How has it worked in the past? What have you tried something that didn't work? Share that. I'll go back and forth between these slides while you work on this, and I'll be back to check in with you in just a few moments. right. I love when y'all try new things, like this week, I'm gonna give this a try. And, thank you for liking the new slide format. I was telling Jennifer today, I just wanted to try something different. So, yeah, it's gonna change again, I'm sure. But thanks for noticing. Um, and now it's time to look at the habits and activities for the week. And as facilitator Maya says, our habities. And this section is great because, again, we've got that habit tracker in the front of our journal that we want to do those things on most of the days of the month. The weekly ones can be changed up according to what your week is bringing you. Again, I'm going to remind you, go take a look at those intentions, take a look at that monthly habit tracker. Now, on my tracker, it says go look at the monthly. My weekly habit tracker says go look at your monthly habit tracker. Check in with monthly trackers, check in with gratitude page, because I want to make sure that I'm very intentional about opening my journal and doing the work. I'm going to refer back to what is not serving you. What can you eliminate? Habits that you could cut could go here. What are some things that you want to get rid of? And James Clear says habits are a double-edged sword. Bad habits can cut you down just as easily as good habits can build you up. So just that reminder, are there some things that you need to, get rid of, especially as we've dug into being vulnerable this week. So here are just a lot of different ways to set this up. You don't have to tie it into a number as far as a number of times you want to do something. You can absolutely, but maybe this is just a straight tracker and you're going to track when it happens, or you will set goals for yourself like you see on some of these, the one that's there on the bottom left wants to journal 5 times this week and circled the actual days they're going to make space for that journaling. And that could be something that you're scheduling then on your Monday through Friday pages. Taking yoga on Monday and Thursday and scheduling that into those weekly spreads. I showed you this last week. I'm probably going to keep this one in here. That idea of what's circled up there, the night walk with the audiobook, just that shout out to habit stacking. If you're trying to start something new, be sure to pair that new habit with something you're already doing, because then your success rate goes up exponentially because you're pairing it with something that is already happening. You can mark these off every day, as you're tracking along. I also want to point out, remember that Pomodoro idea of setting the timer for 25-minute work periods. You see, they're going to Pomodoro the craft room there in the very middle. And I love that. They're going to do that 3 times in the week. So always enjoy that. And then I have this great slide with a ton of ideas. If you're like, I need something new, or I don't need anything new, then just ignore that. But remember, it takes habits a long time. So your habits may be the exact same things that you've been working on this month. So let's work on this for just a few moments, and I'll be back in to check with you in just a moment. All righty. So thank you for working on your habits and activities. Yes, and someone asked about the Pomodoro method. I actually took that slide out, but I wanted to give a shout out to it. And Jennifer's dropping um a link to the Pomodoro method. It's just a really good way to break up your work to make sure that you're staying on task. I personally work really well with a timer set. I think I like those deadlines. So that's something that you can explore. And I can throw that slide back in for my next setup. So I try to change some of these things up so that you're looking at different things every week. So now let's skip over to the next page. As facilitator Katie says, it's like the B side of a record album. Let me go through these spaces. Now, again, this page tends to get repurposed a lot, but you are more than welcome to use the pages just as they are printed. I gave a whole list of different ideas. Some of you are talking about gardening. Maybe you make a garden tracker because it's just that time of year. The meal plan may be a meal plan or a meal tracker, but there's a lot of other ways to set this up. And I will also say that all the examples I'm going to show you for this page could go in any of these spaces. So if you see three things, that might be presented with the meal tracker, feel free to take those and maybe plug them into the Mind Body Health Plan or the shopping list. Again, it's about doing what works for you. So you can see folks are setting this meal plan up in lots of different ways. Clothing tracker, chores. I love it. Word of the day, affirmations going here, those daily affirmations from Sonder Club. That's great. Maybe a daily reflection, which I love the idea of sitting with your journal and maybe putting a reflective question there that you look back over in the evenings. Perhaps your to-do list goes here. And I saw this one, a victory inventory. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, the person who shared this shared at the exclusive social this past week that this was actually an exercise that they have started doing because it was suggested by their therapist to celebrate those wins of the day. And so I love that idea of a victory inventory. And then don't forget about those water droplets. It's a great way to track your hydration or maybe what you're actually drinking. You may discover that you are drinking way too much coffee if you're color coding and you have a lot of caffeinated. But also, this is a really fun little tracker to use. Someone is using this to, I feel calm, a little check in for the day. And perhaps that is that word of the week. I want to feel calm. And these are going to be just little check in moments to yourself where you are embracing that feeling for the week. And then you note it with these water droplets. The Mind Body Health Plan in my journal gets changed up a lot. This is just, but I kind of consider it my space where I do something for me. So it could be something like this weekly intention reflection or a self esteem journal. Don't worry, I'll go back through these so you can grab screenshots if you like them. Perhaps you do a check-in on how you're feeling and what you need. And this could be done in the morning, so you know how to plan your day, or the evening as a daily reflection. Perhaps you choose your exercises like you see on the bottom left. This one tends to be very centric to I guess probably the best way to put it, my soul. What does my soul need this week? Someone made a self-care bingo using stickers from this awesome sticker pack, and I just thought it was so cute and so fun. So I wanted to share that with you. If you want to think about how you want to do bingos, the sticker set is great. Jennifer will share those links to that at the end of our time together. Here's some national days of, if you want to just have some fun with your week, or using the alliteration days like a thankful Thursday or a thinking Thursday, and kind of frame your days out in that way. The 7 types of rest, again, awesome way to set this up. You may focus on one type of rest for every single day, or you may grab each type of rest and do something that supports that particular type of rest, and just that reminder, don't say you didn't do anything on a day. Maybe reframe it with, I rested today. I took time for myself. I relaxed. Everyone needs to rest, including me. Those reminders, especially if you're hyper focused on productivity. The shopping list is just a lovely little space. I like to put a bingo here. The grids make it nice and easy to do. Again, another list of things that you can put in this space, not exhaustive. Love the idea of a weekly quest. I can't remember who posted this one, but how fun to have a quest for the week. It makes you feel, like a superhero. Um, I leaned into kind of getting back on track with some my flow of the day. So there's my good night routines. Routines are tricky for me since I'm not working full time. Love this. You could do this in the mind body health plan or put it in your shopping list. This guided meditation, stretch, and then little check marks for each time you do that. I always like to remind you, are you checking on your people? And then I shouted out to that birthday week bingo. That is from my birthday in, July that I did, up there on the upper right. So maybe throw in a bingo in there for the week. And then what are you loving right now? Let me put on a little bit of music. We are running out of time. So I'm gonna put on a little bit of music and go back through these slides so you can grab a screenshot if you need to. And then any thoughts you have about how you use this page, please share that in the chat. All right. Thank you for joining us today as we set up. I'm so sorry. I'm keeping you over. Class ran a little long today. We'd love to see your pages in Sonder Club if you don't mind sharing it. If you repurpose, just take a picture of that repurposed spot and share as you're comfortable. There are those important important QR codes that we share every week. So be sure, Jennifer is also dropping those links to that in the chat. You'll stay till noon. And I'm just, thank you. We're always honored to gather with one another, with our accountability group to make this journal work in our lives. So have a great week. And I'll see you soon as we finish up May. Goodness. Have a good one, Sonder family.
Picture a place where it all doesn't hurt, where everything's safe and it doesn't get worse. Oh my, we see through bloodshot eyes. Picture a place somewhere else far away, where you know what they mean and they mean what they say to us. And would that be enough? Are we running out of time? Are we hiding from the light? Are we just too scared to fight for what we want tonight?